In 1990s China, many spine-chilling urban legends circulated among the people, and the most terrifying one occurred in the freezing lands of Harbin, Heilongjiang Province. This story is known as the cat-faced old lady incident. It shocked the entire northeast region at the time, and remains a haunting childhood memory for many to this day. In the deep winter of 1995, there was a remote little village in northern Heilongjiang Province, with only a few dozen households. Simple folk living in isolation. In this village lived a family surnamed Lin, an elderly woman living with her son and daughter-in-law. Their days were hard, barely making ends meet. However, this family was far from harmonious. The daughter-in-law was cruel and mean, never showing kindness to her elderly mother-in-law, often cursing and even hitting. Whenever her son went out to work, the daughter-in-law would intensify her abuse of him, who could only endure in silence, never complaining to her son. On this particular day, the daughter-in-law once again lashed out over something trivial. Her words so vicious that even bystanders could not bear to listen. The old lady was left utterly humiliated. Years of accumulated grievance and despair finally reached a breaking point. She made a terrible decision. Late that night, when all was silent, the old lady hanged herself in her room, ending her miserable life in the most extreme way possible. The next morning, the family discovered her body. The sight was absolutely horrifying. Tongue protruding, eyes half open, face twisted in a terrifying grimace. Villagers rushed over upon hearing the news, but no one dared approach the body, for in local belief, death by hanging was an unnatural death, extremely unlucky. Finally, a few brave young men gathered their courage, carefully lowered the body from the beam, and gently placed it into a wooden coffin. According to local custom, those who died unnaturally should not remain at home for long, so they decided to hold the wake for just one night before burial the next day. As night fell, the old lady's son and several neighbors sat around the coffin keeping vigil. Outside the wind howled, inside candles flickered. The atmosphere was oppressive and eerie. Time passed slowly in the deep hours of the night. The mooners began to grow drowsy. Some were already dozing off against the walls. Then something inconceivable happened. A black cat appeared from nowhere and leaped directly over the old lady's corpse in a coffin. In Chinese folklore, cats are considered mystical creatures. If a cat jumps over a corpse, the dead may rise again in what is called a corpse revival. After leaping over the body, the black cat froze motionless on the ground. The mourners felt uneasy, but were too drowsy to pay much attention. Moments later, a blood-curdling scene unfolded. The old lady in the coffin slowly sat up, as if she had never died at all. What was even more horrifying was her face, no longer human, but transformed into a nightmarish visage, half human face and half cat face. The cat half was covered in gray fur. Her eyes had become cat eyes glowing an eerie green. Her lips curved in a sinister cold smile. The mourners were paralyzed with terror. Before they could react, the old lady had already lunged at the person nearest to her. A horrific scream pierced the night. The neighbor was cruel to death on the spot. Blood splattered everywhere. The others fled in absolute terror. The old lady's son ran screaming through the village. "She has risen from the dead. Help!" His voice echoed far into the silent night. The entire village was awakened. But when people arrived at the lake house, the terrifying cat-faced old lady had vanished into the darkness. From that day on, the village knew no peace. Every day, villagers reported that their chickens, ducks, pigs, and dogs had mysteriously disappeared. Even more terrifying, several children went missing at night, never found dead or alive. The entire village descended into unprecedented panic. Villagers began to whisper that the missing children had been caught and eaten by the cat-faced old lady, for she was no longer human, but a monster. Fear spread through the village as a plague. Parents forbade children from going out after dark. Every household locked their doors and windows at dusk. The news soon spread throughout Heilongjiang Province, even reaching downtown Harbin. The cat-faced old lady's story became the talk of the town. School children shared increasingly bizarre versions of the tale. Some said she could walk through walls. Others claimed she could transform into anyone. Allegedly, the situation alarmed higher authorities, who dispatched a special team to the village to investigate and handle this terrifying incident. After days of searching, investigators finally found traces of the cat-faced old lady in an abandoned warehouse outside the village, hollowed in a corner. Legend says that to completely destroy this monster, the team used machine guns to reload the body with bullets, then burned it all to ashes. After that, no more strange occurrences troubled the village. But those missing children never returned, their fate remaining an eternal mystery. Nearly 30 years have passed since the cat-faced old lady incident, yet it remains one of the most widely circulated urban legends in Northeast China. Many people born in the 70s and 80s in Northeast China still remember being too scared to go to the bathroom alone after hearing this story. So, is this story true or false? From a scientific perspective, cold survival and human-to-cat transformation are obviously impossible phenomena. So cold corpse survival is actually a natural phenomenon caused by muscle contraction after death, not any supernatural force at work. The belief that a cat jumping over a corpse causes revival is merely a superstition born from ancient people's lack of understanding about death. But why did this story spread so widely and leave such a deep impact? Behind this lie complex social and psychological factors. China in the 1990s was undergoing social transformation. People's spiritual lives were relatively empty. Strange tales could easily trigger collective panic, combined with limited information channels at the time. A story passed from mouth to mouth would often be embellished into something increasingly bizarre. Each storyteller would add new details from their own imagination, eventually transforming an ordinary incident into a terrifying monster legend. Some experts believe the cat-faced old lady incident may have originated from a real tragedy that was embellished into an urban legend. Perhaps an elderly woman did take her own life due to family conflict. But all the supernatural elements were horror additions by later storytellers. Regardless of the truth, this story reflects that era's fear of the unknown and lingering beliefs in traditional superstitions. It also serves as a cautionary tale about family ethics, reminding people to treat the elderly with kindness, lest they invite terrible retribution. Today, the cat-faced old lady has become a classic case in Chinese urban legends, referenced and adapted in countless films and literary works. Though the story is just a legend, the reflections it leaves us are real. May the departed rest in peace, and may the living cherish those around them.